I said it for the PVs, and people told me, don't overreact. But here I am, 3 episodes into Season 2, and I have to say, something happened with Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation Season 2. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not here to be all doom and gloom. I still love Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation, but you have to acknowledge when something is going wrong. Before I became a massive fan of Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation, the novel series, I fell in love with the anime. And this was partly to do with just this incredible directing work done, animation and everything done by a new studio, Studio Bind. Beautiful scenic shots, flowing hair and clothing, character shading and facial detail, amazing magical effects, the portrayal of a not so pretty life, and the growth of a really nasty protagonist. Details, details, details. Every episode opened up with scenic shots of towns and villages and environments, all surrounding the main character. The amount of passion and hard work that was put in that series was evident. It was one of the most beautiful shows I have ever set my eyes on, and the most beautiful stories I have ever experienced. Again, enough to jump right into the novel series. That doesn't happen often. But then, Season 2 PVs released, and red flags were everywhere. It's sort of a common thing that PVs are typically a showcase to draw in viewers. It often includes the best shots that will wow people and bring eyeballs in. But again, the Season 2 PVs were not the spectacle that we had seen from Season 1. So it's fair to say that people, including myself, were a bit concerned. Let me be perfectly clear. It is okay to be concerned about the production of an anime. It's okay to want better. It's okay to want a good adaptation. Far too often I find myself feeling like I'm a bad person for saying, well, that doesn't look incredible. People respond by saying, it's okay, or I think it looks fine. Fine? Sure, but why not amazing? What's so wrong with that? That's what we experienced in Season 1. It was amazing. Anime is a visual spectacle. It's bringing letters and panels to life, not just to be fine. That's what bad adaptations and poor budgeting and planning across so many other shows has molded people into expecting. Maybe some of those responses are people that assume that I'm a part of one of those hyper-analyzing doomer groups. I just speak up whenever things just concern me. And again, that's okay. I just want a great adaptation. Otherwise, I'll just go back to novels. What's the point of just even having an animation at that point? Honestly, if my terrible imagination can create a better image of what's happening in the novel than visual creatives, then there's a problem there. That just doesn't sit right with me. Now, some, yes, might be legitimately asking what's so wrong with Season 2, or maybe they just haven't watched it. I take a lot of screenshots doing the work that I do. You see it in the corner all the time. And putting them side by side, I can tell a massive difference. Shading is less. Characters in Season 2 look more flat, more often wonky. Shoot, crowds of CGI characters that are close up to the screen. And the most interesting thing that I noticed putting 2 folders side by side and scrolling through them simultaneously is perspective shots. Season 2, most all perspective shots is dead on to characters or over shoulders, whereas Season 1 was so much more creative with different angles that definitely enhanced the emotion of each scene, or enhanced the more entertaining scenes. Season 2 is just kind of going for a little bit above bare minimums. It's just lacking creativity. And yes, there's a narrative problem as well. It's not telling the story properly, or it's just rushing through things. So the question then becomes, what is happening to Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation Season 2? Why isn't it as good? On different message boards, Discords, social medias, you can probably find speculation. Like I tell a lot of people with most anything like this, you're not going to get a confirmation. Nobody in the industry is going to talk. They don't burn bridges in Japan. So anything you can find is usually somebody saying, oh, this person said something here, that means it attaches to here. Most cases it doesn't. It's just people trying to tie the knots together to something that doesn't exist. Most outsiders are speculating. It's Onimai's fault. They took talent from Mushoku Tensei. No, it's because the director left, etc., etc., etc. I can buy into some of these, but probably not for the same reasons as those people are saying it for. My theory starts from the beginning. The original announcement of the beginning of Studio Bind. This desire to adapt all of Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation and to celebrate this epic tale and to fully realize it. I still remember reading that interview with director Okamoto. Okamoto talking about the pressures to be true to the source material and to please the fans. The difficulties of getting the project even off the ground. He also spoke on the great lengths that they put into just making magic feel like an extension of nature itself, and how the animators pull this off to a cool effect. But most important in that interview was his statement in responding to his service as director and series composition writer. He said, very difficult. Simply, It was very difficult. Now, many might know that while we built up to the eventual release of Season 2, one thing became very, very concerning. Okamoto went to another studio, Cygames Pictures, to direct Idolmaster Cinderella Girls U-149. This obviously raised massive red flags for any Mushoku Tensei fan. Was Season 2 already done? Is he working on 2 projects at the same time? Did he leave Bind? Again, go back to that interview. He said doing all that for Mushoku Tensei was very difficult. So no, he wouldn't be working on 2 projects. He left one project for another. Keep in mind, Season 1 was in works for many years, so much that it's seen a delay before it even aired. It makes me believe that one of 2 things happened with director Okamoto. 1, he got burnt out with production on Season 1, or 2, he possibly seen something happening around the production that made him walk away. Make no mistake, I felt Okamoto's involvement with Season 1 was a blessing. I watched Season 1, and then I read novels 1 through 6. I felt that his direction was some of the best adaptations out there. Barely anything of major value was cut. My only miff was a lot of the stuff that was cut from Volume 5 and Volume 6. But at its heart, the message of Rudeus, his growth, and the impact on his life was evident. I felt this disgusting human being growing, conflicted, dealing with family for the first time of his life, dealing with loss, dealing with struggles, relationships, stuff he's never experienced before, all being clouded by his old mind that keeps rearing its ugly head. The animation was amazing all the way through. I know a lot of people claim that part 2 was bad. No. I look back at it. No, it still looked incredible. But all of Okamoto's work was very involved and very, very costly. Now, to my theory, my actual theory here, and this is purely just speculation because, again, we're not going to get the answers, but it's just my educated guess just based on my knowledge of the industry itself and how people move around and what that sort of means. My opinion is that the production committee, seeing how involved this was, how costly Season 1 was, and they decided to cut back. They went too ham on Season 1, and profits weren't big enough for the work. Light novels and merch wasn't selling well enough. They may be selling really great, but not enough. Plain and simple. You could say, well, it sold this many novels here, and it sold this many figurines, but we never know the profits to all that stuff, and if it all flows back enough. It's almost impossible to get the full picture. You can really only speculate at this point. That's what I want to make very clear here. So due to this possibility, they pull back the reins a bit, while still fulfilling the desire to fully adapt it. And the end result may be what Okamoto was not wanting to be involved with anymore. I really feel that based on the interviews with him, that he had a passion for this project. And either it was too much for him, or he didn't want to get involved with it possibly crumbling. Or it could very well be that they weren't going to pay him enough. We will never know. This would also explain that possibly why Bind took up other projects like Onimai. Not that it was going to take away all the people from Mushoku Tensei over to there, but because they needed a side project to keep the studio bringing in money for themselves and other producers like Egg Firm, which is their parent company. The evidence of the reins being pulled back is substantial. Detail is lost. Okamoto's attention to Rudeus' struggle is lost. And all we're being left with is kind of the base story, which for many people is probably fine, and probably something that only the novel fans are probably going to be hurting over. But still, every now and then I wonder, are people getting enough context with this scene? Do people understand what Rudeus is going through right now? I would think not, because they're cutting all this dialogue. Yes, putting visuals aside, I don't feel like the season is capturing what Rudeus is going through well enough. Rudeus is a person that's hurting badly. That's all of Volume 7 is literally Rudeus stuck in wanting to die. I don't feel that with the anime. Yes, Volume 7, which is this beginning segment of this season, is extremely depressing. But it's what makes Rudeus who he is. Someone who's so insecure that he's wanting a place to die. All over a misunderstanding that he cannot see. That just isn't felt here. There's so much inner struggle and dialogue that is absolutely missing. And it's cutting from scene to scene so fast that you're not given a chance to really figure out what Rudeus is doing. What happened to Rudeus dying inside when he chose to disband Dead End? What about his inner struggle about if he needed to find his mother or pouting over Edis? What was he thinking when everybody was talking bad about Soldat in the bar? And that he didn't want to get involved because he doesn't think Soldat's a bad person? What was he thinking about when Soldat was chewing him out? Has anybody even established that Rudeus thinks that Edis left him and abandoned him? Because even though that's constantly in his mind in Volume 7, I haven't seen much dialogue over it. That's something that Okamoto always made sure to capture. The best way possible to condense and involve that dialogue. That all said, I still love Mushoku Tensei. I'm not a doomer when it comes to this. I will continue to read it, I will continue to watch it, and I will continue to consume anything around it. I love it, and that's the only reason I'm bringing this up. is because I love this. My only true fear is that something like this is a sign that eventually they may decide not to fully adapt it. But that's a discussion for the future. Again, there's nothing wrong with wanting amazing, and I'll continue to root for the studio to deliver amazing. They did it with season 1 of Mushoku, they did it with Onimai, and I'm sure hopefully eventually, maybe this is a sign that eventually we'll start to see things get really picking up. Because yes, around the corner, things get crazier, so the only real hope here is that they're saving themselves for that. I still think it looks better than most every anime out there. Anyhow, that's my thoughts on the quality change in Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as always. If you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment, let me know what you think of this whole situation. Am I a doomer? Are you a doomer? Are you worse than me? Do you think it's okay to criticize the quality of a show? I think we had that experience last season with Kamikatsu, and we're having to hear it again. Who knows? Maybe Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation Season 2 is this way because it's intentional. I know, that's a sore spot for some people. Anyhow, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button to get my content. I do news reviews, first impressions, top lists if it's anime, it's pretty much here. Also, I cover Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation, the anime series, every single Sunday. From the perspective of somebody that has read the novel series up to volume 12, I pretty much don't spoil things, but I sort of give people a perspective on what sort of missed. This week's was massive because we basically covered 80 pages for one episode and so much was cut. But additionally, every Monday I do a premiere Mushoku Mondays where I go through the novel series. Again, like I said, I'm currently in volume 12. For those that don't know, that's pretty much going to be later parts of season 2. But additionally, if you like this content and you want to support this channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, and membership button down below. I greatly appreciate everybody does, and y'all take care.